Iowa is Republican presidential candidate Congressman Ron Paul. Ron, good to see you again.
Good morning, Joe. Nice to talk to you.
Now, Ron, I don't want to talk out of school here, but I'm just going to say it. When we were members of Congress, a lot of times you'd go on the floor, you'd sit alone. People treated you like you had the plague.
Oh.
I know that because I was on the other side by myself with people treating me like the plague. But now you say when you walk onto the floor, you're a popular guy. Republicans surround you and they want to know about one thing. How are you raising all that money?
Yeah, they do. They do ask me about it. Democrats are interested, but they are asking.
It's a unifying message. Money.
They're asking the wrong question. I mean, it isn't a technique, it's a message. It's a message that's been out there, and people come to us. They said, how do I raise that money? And I don't. The grassroots get together on the internet, and they come to me. So it's completely different than having a high-paid expert that knows how to use the internet. It has nothing to do with that. And it's pretty amazing seeing that we don't even have to pay commissions, and we don't have to pay direct mail costs. And, to get 25,000 brand new donors in one day is pretty amazing.
Ron, $18 million. That's your fourth quarter tally. You've got you set the record. In the history of American politics, nobody has ever raised more money on a single day than you.
Gosh.
And yet, this is happening without your campaign people coordinating it. This is completely about grassroots, and it's completely about you just saying what you believe in. It's got to jolt the political system.
Yeah, and there's no special interest money, no PAC money, no bundling. The median donation is $50. There's just a huge number of people in this country who are very, very frustrated. People who have never voted before, people who have dropped out, independents, Democrats. They're just looking for something different. I never believed it would be so big, but it's much bigger than anybody imagined. And I believe, we didn't coin the word, but somebody claims there's a revolution going on in the good sense of the term. I think there really is. There's a revolt in this country against the status quo, and I feel fortunate enough to be part of it.
Willie, you said yesterday Tucker endorsed Ron Paul.
Well, he's done that behind closed doors for a long time, but I think he said it on the air that he was going to vote for him. But he did ask your campaign spokesman there, Congressman, how frustrating it is to having raised all this money. You raised $6 million in a single day, and there it is buried on page 50 of the Washington Post. Is it frustrating not being able to grab the headlines the way you ought to be?
Well, I guess a little bit, but I just totally ignore it. I mean, I didn't ever depend on them in the first place, and the message is being spread. The numbers of people are growing that are joining us. The money is there, so we're proving ourselves, but we still have to prove ourselves by doing very well in the election. So I just concentrate on what I'm supposed to do, try to make sure they know what I stand for, and reach as many people as possible. If the media doesn't handle it correctly, I figure it's their problem, not my problem.
And if you look at the polls, I'm just wondering, you got the media coverage issue, which Willie just brought up. Do you think this will translate into votes?
Well, certainly, and I think the polls aren't exactly accurate. Some of our people don't have land-based phones; they just have cell phones, and most of them are not didn't vote in the last go-around, so they don't get called. And so many people like Trevor, who did all this fundraising for us, he's never voted before. He's 37 years old. But he just represents one of millions, people who have been totally disgusted. So something special is going on, and whether it translates into what we think could happen here in the primaries or it takes a little longer, I don't know that, but I do know there's something very significant going on. I think we're facing a crisis. I think people are tired of our foreign policy, tired of the spending, tired of the inflation, and this economy is much weaker than they think. And there's a bad sign about our dollar going down. All these things spell trouble for this country. And I think we offer a solution, and it's a great solution. The old-fashioned solution, the Constitution and freedom and self-reliance. What else could we expect? It's just sort of the American tradition. And so it's very exciting that there's so many people joining us.
Ron, do you think you're going to do well in Iowa, or are you going to save your money for New Hampshire, where there's a strong libertarian streak?
No, I'm in Iowa right now, and we're spending the money. Sometimes we have to be creative enough to figure out how to spend the money, but we're in good shape. We'll spend it, but we'll be in good shape to spend money for February 5th. So this is very encouraging. But we're working hard in Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina and Michigan and Nevada. So we have the funds to do it, and that's why they sent the money, not to put it in the bank, but to spend it and get votes.
If you don't win the Republican nomination, will you put your name on the Libertarian line this summer?
I have no intention of doing that. I have no plans for that. We're in the midst of this primary. We haven't had one election yet, so I have no intentions of doing that.
But you won't rule it out?
Well, nearly. About as close as I can, 99.9%. I think it's so biased. Matter of fact, I think even some of the states say that if you ran on a major party ticket, you're not allowed to file as an independent or go to another party. I don't even know those laws well enough, but those are not in my mind. I do not think about that. That is not my intention. I don't have any plans to do that.
You had an interesting comment about the Iraq War. Condoleezza Rice obviously last night went over to Iraq. She's there right now. A lot of people waking up that news. And you commented that you're not one of these people that are against the war because you think it was mishandled. You were saying you can't manage a bad war. Is that right?
That is exactly the point. A bad war is when you start it yourselves and you go in there without a declaration. You don't know who the real target is. There's no real enemy. It becomes a political war. Actually, one of the reasons we went in there and gave the president this authority was to enforce UN resolutions. Now, you can't manage that. And some of the candidates now who voted for the war complain only, oh, it's being mismanaged. I can manage this war much better. No, you're exactly right. It's overall policy. It's foreign policy. I want the foreign policy of the Founding Fathers, the foreign policy of George Bush of the year 2000, the humble foreign policy and no nation building, no policing of the world. That's what I want. That's what the American people want. Besides, we can't afford this foreign policy anymore. We're going broke, and we have to quit before it collapses on us.
Let me ask you about other wars, whether you supported them or not, and whether, again, just so people have a better understanding of your view of foreign policy. What about the first Gulf War? Did you support or oppose that?
No, I did not, because there was no declaration. We weren't attacked. Our national security was not threatened. Okay. And that was a regional war that should not have involved us.
What about Bosnia and Kosovo?
Absolutely opposed to, and all the Republicans almost were opposed to that. I mean, they even had an they had a suit against Clinton, and that's what George Bush ran against. Non-intervention, they thought that was way too much.
Okay, I'll ask you, what about Vietnam and Korea? Do you think those wars should not have been fought?
Absolutely not. They were, once again, the same arguments, undeclared wars. Our national security was not threatened. We didn't win the wars. A lot of men got killed, and it cost us a lot of money, and we're still in Korea. Makes no sense whatsoever.
World War II?
World War II would be hard to avoid, but you have to understand why World War II was fought, and it was because of World War I. That was a continuation of one war, and we should not have gotten into World War I. Wilson dragged us into that war. The war was almost over, and it was a stalemate, and he wanted to participate in the Versailles Treaty, and that was the disaster. The Versailles Treaty, for instance, designed this modern Iraq and created the problems that we're facing today because of that. But World War I really led to Hitler, and then World War II.
So over the past century, the only war that you would say America should have been involved with would have been World War II?
That was the only one that was justified because we were attacked viciously, and then Germany declared war against us. Okay. But if you look at the overall policy, it could have been prevented by us, having a wiser foreign policy earlier on.
All right. So finally, let me ask you, we obviously are facing some economic hardships right now. You've got the big question of tax cuts, whether we continue George Bush's tax cuts as we go into the next presidency. Do you believe that we continue the Bush tax cuts, or do you believe that they are fiscally reckless?
No, I think they should be continued, but it's fiscally reckless, not because you cut taxes, but because we continue to spend. I feel very comfortable in always voting for tax cuts. I want a lot more tax cuts. I want to get rid of the income tax, but I vote against all the spending, just as you did when you were in the Congress. That's what has to be done. We have to cut the spending.
There you go. You see, we got the Mike Huckabee Baby Jesus commercial that a lot of people can say amen to. I can say amen to that. Cut taxes, cut taxes, cut taxes, and spending. All right, Ron Paul, let me tell you something. You've got one voter in Florida that's never voted before, my 19-year-old son. I think he's Joey Scarborough. a member of the Ron
Wonderful.
Paul Revolution. So, all right. Thanks so much for being with us, Ron. Really do
Thank you,
appreciate
Joe.
it. Coming up
Appreciate it.
next, a girl who also, I'm sure, a heart as big as Gotham. You got to support the Mike Huckabee baby.